Okay, let's go.
All right, welcome back to the Warriors Way podcast. My name's Tim. I'm the host of the episode, and today we have a guest on named Brock Longcrier. And I met Brock through a previous guest, Mike, and I'm excited for you guys to hear his story. I'm excited to learn more about Brock. So, Brock, thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to have this conversation. It's been a long time coming. I don't know if I wrote down the date. Yeah, I think we talked at the beginning of April, so it
Yeah,
is now end of May. So it's been about 2 months coming, and we've both been crazy busy doing some fun things that maybe we'll get into. But Brock, as we kick it off, why don't you just introduce yourself? Who is Brock Longcrier?
yeah. Tim, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a crazy couple of months. I know both you and I have been in the middle of preps, and we've had a few races and kids and business and all of it. So a little bit about me. I am first and foremost a son of God. I've got a wife, two beautiful daughters. I am an entrepreneur, endurance athlete, and man, I'm just continually uh, trying to shape who I am as a person. Um, and, whether that's in life, that's in business, that's in the family realm, in my faith, uh, every day, just trying to get better a little bit at a time. So that's really the gist on me. I just completed my first ultra marathon. Well, let me rephrase that. I DNF'd, but I ran my first ultra marathon. I didn't complete it. And it was truly a life-changing experience. And it, I'm addicted now, dude. Like it, that filled my cup more than anything has. And I think anything will, excluding the faith side of things. That was just such an incredible experience of suffering for 15 hours and the heat and the trails and, um, speaking to God for 5 hours, turning my headphones off, and just being in the moment. So yeah, that's who I am, and yeah, thanks again for having me on.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I followed along with your race, so we'll definitely unpack some of that weekend for you. Um, what was your upbringing like, Brock? Like, how are you raised? What was childhood like in forming who you are today?
Yeah, so I always tell everybody I probably had one of the best childhoods that anybody could. Um, for a number of different reasons. There was also, there's stressors for other reasons, but I had, or I still have, two amazing parents. I grew up an MK and a PK. For people who don't know, that's a missionary kid and a pastor's kid. I grew up sitting in the pew, and I grew up in the mission field. So I was born in Carrollton, Texas. My dad was the youth pastor, I believe, at the church at the time. And shortly after that, we moved to Costa Rica and started planting churches there. I didn't. I was very young. My family did. And then from Costa Rica, we then moved to Mexico City. Um, we were there for, I think, a little over a year and a half, and moved back in 99. From that point on, my dad was a pastor at the church, the same church we grew up in. And he's been a pastor ever since. Now he's got a little bit of a career change. He's the CEO of a mission organization that has I think over 80 missionaries across the world that he's in charge of. But my childhood was, I was in the church all day, every day, singing in the choir, doing all the things. And so while that is good, there are other things, like you feel like you live inside of a fishbowl because everybody's watching you, and you feel like you can't make a move without doing certain things. But um, I loved it. I took that and ran with it. So that's where I grew up, and grew up an athlete: baseball, basketball, football. I tried to do everything but run, if I'm going to be completely honest. Like, yeah, basketball has running. Baseball doesn't have that much running. I didn't play a whole lot of baseball, but football is my sport. I like to hit. I like to the contact, the camaraderie. Um, but man, that's really in a condensed version. That's me and my upbringing. Like to hunt, fish. Uh, I like to do anything but run. And so running has been my nemesis my whole life until really this year, and it's become my closest and best friend. Uh, so yeah, that's kind of my upbringing right there.
Oh, man, our stories are very similar. I know we shared, some of that in our call. But I was a um, PGK, pastor's grandkid, but
Yep.
we lived with my grandma and grandpa growing up. So my mom and dad were divorced. We lived with my grandma and grandpa, who was the pastor of a big Baptist church. And like you said, man, we were there Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. Anytime the doors were open, we were there. We went to the Christian school that the church had. So I was there Monday through Friday at school as well. My grandma was the leader of our choir and our music program. So all day Saturday, she was there getting ready for Sunday. And, me and my brother and sister were playing hide and seek in the church,
Yeah.
swimming in the baptistry in the summer, everything you could think of, we were doing. And there's a certain kind of, vibe that comes with, because it's, you feel like that's your life. And growing up, I don't know that I realized, um, you know both sides of it, how great I had it and how much of, you know uh, a glass house we lived in.
Right.
And our glass house was very dirty. It was a very broken glass house. So growing up, that led to a lot of things on the direction, or a lot of reasons I went the directions I did in life. You mentioned kind of living in that fishbowl. Was there anything that kind of led to who you were after school? Like, where, what was your college career like? Did you go to college? What it looked
Yeah.
like after you kind of left home?
Yeah. After I stayed and did some community college, got that out of the way, and then I went to Tarleton State University, go Texans, and got my degree in what did I get my degree in? Agriculture industries and agencies. I wanted to do something in ag, um, but I also wanted to get a degree that was easy so I could party. And if classes are easy, it's a lot easier to party and party a lot more. So that's what I did, and partied. Stayed on the dean's list. I think I didn't stay on it. I was on it a couple times, but I always told myself if I let partying control my grades, then I will stop partying and just focus on my grades. But I was able to balance both of them, and um, yeah, I mean, balance isn't the right word. I went way too hard in the party scene, and so that's part of my testimony of um, coming back out of that. But yeah, I went to Tarleton State and graduated in 2017. Took me 5.5 years, so had a little speed bump along the way, but nothing that you can't just pivot and make right. So
Yeah, my college my college journey was started off similar. I did enroll in a community college, to get some of the basic courses done, and then
right,
I was doing all of my partying before I went to school. So I was 19, sitting at home thinking, man, I got to get my life straightened out. I'm heading down the wrong path. And I pulled a hard 180 and went to Bible college, um,
okay,
which everybody thinks is like this, holy walk of, forward. And um, it was very strict, uh, but there were people there that were, you know, doing all the same things that I was running away from. So uh, luckily I had a good head on my shoulders to where, I'm going there because I want to go there, not because my parents are forcing me. So I didn't end up with like this rebellious college uh, experience. But then getting out of school, I got married when I was at towards the end of my college, my senior year in college, and I was going for education, elementary education, and I went to student teach at a school, and I hated every second of it. And I'm like, there's no way I can do this. I hate it right now. I never see myself liking this. What am I doing? So the school I went to was unaccredited, meaning I'm not transferring these credits to any other college to change my degree. I'm gonna have to start over from nothing if I do. So
Mm,
I'm just gonna go jump into the workforce, and if I'm gonna volunteer at a church, it's gonna be out of my pocket, and I'll volunteer. I don't want to take money from a church or school. I just want to give back. So my wife and I got out of there, and we were helping at a church, but it was a more laid back church than either one of us grew up from. So you start dabbling into alcohol and all that kind of stuff again, and before you know it, man, it's like I never skipped a beat. Um,
yeah.
so that's a huge part of my story too. So you get out of college. Are you still in Texas right now? Or
Yes, yeah. We're in Weatherford, Texas. So it's on the west side of Fort Worth.
all right. So you get out of college. What did you start doing for work?
Yeah, so man, I started working in the oil field as soon as I got out. And I worked for a soil remediation company where we would clean up oil spills, produce water spills, condensate spills. We would chemically engineer the soil to extract uh, the chemicals or the hydrocarbons. So the hydrocarbons actually would be eaten up by a certain chemical. The salts would be attached like through ionic exchanges and then flushed out. And so we would essentially be soil washing. We would create these giant infrastructures, put the chemicals in, and extract all the pollutants. So I did that for, gosh, 6 years, I think. This is really when I feel like my testimony starts. Um, Obviously our entire life is a testimony, but I feel like this is really when the Lord started working in my life, and started chiseling away at uh, the things that shouldn't be in my life. So I worked there for 6 years. The owner of that company, he started another branch. So I was managing uh, two multi-million-dollar companies, and I'm a bachelor. I'm living out in West Texas, Eastern New Mexico, traveling all over the country, working 80 plus hours a week, making good money. And then, we got to a certain point in the business where we were growing and we needed a few other things to build our infrastructure, and it didn't work out that way. And I lost my job. So that, as soon as I lost my job, I had depleted my savings because we had a wedding. First kid was born, bought a house, had all these major life events. And I think like 6 months later, lost my job. And it was a very, very hard moment in my life. And throughout that 6 years, I was hitting the bottle pretty hard. And when I mean pretty hard, in New Mexico, I lived in Hobbs at the time. You can go to a gas station and you can buy liquor anytime, pretty much, I think, anytime before midnight. So I would, on my way back to my camper, I'd pick up a bottle of Crown. I would drink a half a bottle of Crown every night and go to bed and then wake up and do the same, everything, same day or the next day. Uh, and so when I got home, I have a 6 month old baby. I have no job. I have a mortgage now. Like all of these stressors, I guess what I leaned into. I leaned into the bottle even harder. And I had the degree, I had the work experience in management. I had all of these things on a resume that if you're to look at it, you're like, man, this is the guy that like we need to hire in this position or this position. And I applied for over 100 jobs, and for 3 months, I could not get a job. As a husband, a father, a leader of the family, the financial provider of the family, you go into a pretty dark spot when you can't even get a job that you're overqualified for. You're just like, dude, what is going on? And the same time, my so I lived in a camper out west. I brought the camper home. I parked it at my deer lease. A week later, after I lost my job, a wildfire came to our deer lease and burned everything down. It burned my camper down, everything I had in the camper. I had thousands of dollars worth of stuff, like a new couch, a new fridge, a new bed, like all of this stuff, because I was living in the camper so it was all nice things and all burned up. I wasn't able to get an insurance check till like 8 months later, which is another part of the story. Um, so feeling really defeated and hit the bottle even harder. That was just the only thing that would suppress it for me and kind of numb the pain. I got hired on at another oil field company here locally, which me losing that job was the biggest blessing of my life. Me losing my camper, biggest blessing of my life. All of those hardships made me stronger as a person, brought me closer to God, and I am sitting where I'm at today because of all of these events. I then got this job. I worked it. It was a great job, had the benefits, great people, 401k, health insurance, everything you could think of, it had, except purpose for me and passion. I sat behind the desk all day and I was like, man, this is not what I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to be inspecting pipelines. This is just not it. I started two companies. I started an excavation company because that's what I knew how to do. Um, and when I started it because that's what I knew. But then I really started focusing on what is my purpose? What is my passion? It's one, to be with my family, to make a difference with them, but also two, to help people. If I'm out working on construction equipment and moving dirt, that's taking time away from my family. So I quit doing that. I started a roll-off dumpster company, and where I'm able to run the dumpsters in the evening, spend the time with my family. Like last night, I put the whole family in the truck and we went and picked up a dumpster, and it was great. Um, Still not, you know, it was a stepping stone, but it's not my calling. I believe that I started the dumpster company for one specific reason. That specific reason being, we left church one day and there's a plot of land over by our house. It's like 2 acres. And I told my wife, I said, hey, if I'm going to leave my current job and build this business up, I need more space to bring dumpsters, for equipment, for everything. So what do? We go out to there after church and we pray over this land. We said, Lord, tell us what you want us to do. Tell us, show us what your path looks like. We're praying over this property, and the next day, my oil change light comes on, and there's a oil change place right next to that property. So I pull in there, never been there before. It was called Birdwell Lube and Automotive. And I go in there, and the lady, never met before. She's like, hey, do you want to buy this business? And I was like, um, yes, I do. And so we sat down. I spoke with my banker. We did all the things, And it was a short timeline because they had another company trying to purchase the business because it had a lot of land with it on the side. And I had to come up with $200,000 that I didn't have to be able to put as a down payment for the loan and all this other stuff. And so I'm sitting there praying. I'm like, Lord, if this is your will, there will be $200,000 in my bank account. We will have the money. Guess what? We didn't get the money, but that wasn't the point. The point was now my eyes are open to, hey, what if we purchased a business, made a quicker exit from my current company, and we started, a week later, our friend, who my wife was doing some social media work for, she was like, hey, I'm moving to Washington and starting a church. So I just wanted to let y'all know that, we won't be doing these social media accounts anymore and all this other stuff. And I was like, hey, are you going to sell your business? And she was like, well, I mean, now that you say that, yeah, it's a text marketing business. It's the infrastructure was built. There's some few things missing. That's beside the point. Bought the company, made the exit, and now I've been self-employed for a year and a half now. And it's been the greatest thing. It's been the hardest thing, but I'm walking in faith and I'm fulfilled. I'm able to be there for my family. I'm able to make a difference in other people's lives and make a difference in other people's businesses. And it's just been a full circle event. It's been such a cool experience to go through. And that's really like how my journey has started and changed. And throughout that whole process, in the middle of it, like when I'm trying to figure out how to buy the company, how to do this, how to do that, insurance check comes through, which is the exact amount I needed to buy this company. Like you can't tell me that's not divine, right? And there was peace throughout the whole situation, and there's been peace in the storm. And I actually brought this to show you today. Uh, my brother brought me a brick. So when my camper burned down and I'm like in the lowest of the low, my brother brought me this brick. This is a brick from one of the house that burned down on the lease property. And he's like, hey, this is a cornerstone of the rest of your life. Like, don't stop. Don't stop now. Don't stop ever. Build it back up. And so I keep it on my desk just as a reminder, like, hey, you've been low, but being low is what it doesn't define you, it refines you, and you only become stronger through those processes and get closer to God throughout the whole thing. So, kind of tying all that back in, the same brother who gave me that, he went and ran PK, Possum's Revenge, which is the one I just ran. And at mile 37, I think, he got rhabdo and was in the hospital for 4 days. This is really the turning point of my life because I looked at him and most people would say, hey, if you get rhabdo, like I'm not going to run because you almost killed yourself. I took that as he ran till his body gave out before his mind. And I had no control of my mind. I was drinking a 12 pack every night. I was drinking liquor every night. And I'm like, I want to control my mind. I don't want my mind to control me. And so, what's one thing that you can do in any circumstance, whether it's raining, hot, whatever? You can lace up your shoes and you can run. You don't have to have a gym membership. You don't have to have anything else. So I started running and it was ugly. It was uncomfortable. And ever since then, it's just been, I hated it for about a year. and now I love it. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still days like during peak week and stuff. It's like, man, this really, really sucks. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. Um, but that it has changed me as a person. And so actually next year, me and Hunter are going to go back to PK. We're going to run it together and we're going to crush it. We're going to get the 69. We're going to kill it. And I'm super excited for that. But man, that's
So
just kind of,
is that what that is? It's a 69-mile loop race, right? So you
yep,
do
69.
multiple loops.
Yeah, it's a 17-mile loop and you do it 4 times.
Man,
Yeah. So, man, that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that's where I am today. And, this month has been a hard month as we discussed previously. Uh, but one really cool thing, I just want to share that earlier this week, I was reading my Bible and in Daniel, it, it was talking about when Daniel got thrown into the lion's den, right? And what was it? Was it King Darius? I think it is.
Mhm.
The king threw him into the lion's den. Like they were specifically targeting Daniel. And so like I'm like putting myself in Daniel's shoes right now. They're specifically targeting Daniel. And the line that spoke to me, or verse that spoke to me, is they said, uh, they issued a decree that you shouldn't pray to anybody but their king. And if they do, they're gonna get thrown into the lion's den. What did Daniel do? 3 times a day, he got down on his knees and prayed, gave thanks to his God, just as he had done before. That is the most important part. Just as he had done before. He didn't waver. And then got thrown in the lion's den. The angel shut the mouth of the lion. And then he came out, and the king was like, we need to proclaim God's name throughout all of my kingdom because of this incident or because of the situation. For he is the living God and he endures forever. And I'm just like sitting here like, all right, Lord, you put me through some fire, right? You put me in the lion's den. Guess what? You sent an angel to close the mouth of the lion. And what did that do? That brought me closer to you. That that strengthened my faith in you. And now um I've been posting on social media, right? It's nothing crazy, but over the course of the past 30 days, I've been able to reach over 200,000 people. And through my journey, through my testimony, I'm now getting to proclaim his name to 200,000 people. From what getting thrown in the lion's den, yeah, man, that's scary and that sucks. And that's going to change you as a man and as a believer and as a husband, as a father. But guess what? It brings you, it does two things. It brings you closer to God and you get to proclaim his name through all of it. And so like I've just been really just enjoying reading Daniel and like seeing like, okay, how my testimony can be shared online and those fires and the tribulation that you go through. Guess what I get to do? I get to speak his name across all nations on social media. That's just the coolest thing. So yeah,
Yeah,
sorry for the ramble, but
no,
man,
I love that.
it's been powerful.
I loved what you said there about just as he had done before. And Daniel didn't wait until this problem came up where they were like, "Hey, we're going to threaten you, and if you do this, then you're going to die." He didn't wait until then to start praying, 3 times a day.
Exactly.
It was just that he had done before, meaning that
Yep.
this was something he did every single day, and he did it on the good days, and he did it. It was his structure, and it was his, you know, plan, tying this into like running. This was his plan. This was his running plan. It's
Yeah.
every day, no matter what, this is what I do. This is my schedule. And oh, it's a good day. Good. I'm gonna go do it. Oh, it's a bad day. I'm gonna do it anyway. And
Yep.
how many lessons we can pull out of just that one phrase, just as he had done before. And
Exactly.
what's the outcome is he goes into the race, the Lion's Den, and he's able to run with endurance and finish the race. And he's able to be there standing untouched the next morning. And yeah, what better way to honor God than to, share our struggles, share our stories. You've said a couple times here on the people who have, your mentor going through his tough time and how many people he was able to reach. And, you're going through some tough times and how many people you're able to reach. And that's where people connect with people. It's not when they see everybody in their highlight reels and the highlight days, because the majority of us are going through our own tribulations and our own trials, and we
Yeah.
connect with people who are there with us, in the same kind of hurt, in the same kind of problems. And when we see people handle it the way that I want to handle it, it's like, okay, I'm drawn to that because I want more of that. And because I can relate, I'm right there with them. And so, yeah, there's no surprise that your story is reaching people because you're sharing out of authenticity and you're putting God first at the front of it. So keep going, man. I'm on board to watch it. So
I
your brother
appreciate it.
your brother started this race. You're like, yeah, he almost killed himself. I want to do that to myself too.
Yeah.
Um, did you? I'm assuming you didn't just jump straight into signing up for the ultra. Was there a build up? Like, how did you start running? Did you start signing up for some races? What kind of things did you do to prepare for? Was it it was 2 weeks ago, right? For your race, or
It
two
was
and a half
May
weeks ago?
16th, May
Okay,
16th. So whatever.
yeah, about 3 weeks ago
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah. So funny thing is, I didn't really build, I mean, I built up to it along the way. But yesterday I was actually cleaning my office and I found a sticky note that said 354 days until Possum's Revenge. So I didn't just like sit here and be like, okay, I'm gonna go run a 5K, then I'm gonna run a half, then I'm gonna run a full. I was just like, I'm gonna go run the 69. I put that on as my target and just started running with no rhyme or reason. I just put my shoe. I went to the running store, got fitted for some shoes, and would run 1 mile and walk run, then 2 miles and 3 miles and 4 miles. Uh, and yeah, I just tried to build up to it. As as I progressed, I consumed more content of, what it takes to actually run an ultra. Um, because even I signed up for a half in November, and then December I did a full marathon, and then March I did a 31-mile ultra, and then I had the race. I know I should have done another race in between those two to build up a little bit more, like maybe do like a 50 miler. Um, However, I I didn't, and that's okay. That's part of learning. Like you go out, you learn, you take from that experience, and you build off of it. Uh, so I ran my first. I'm a slow guy. I'm 6'5", 250 pounds. When I started out with this journey, I was 285, and I've lost my weight. And over the course of the past year, I've like sustained the 250. Uh, but I've had some recomposition of, my BMI has changed. So I'm building muscle while losing fat and staying the same weight. Um, I could really geek out on some like nutrition and like the hydration. And I've just learned a lot through this whole process. But I did the half marathon, felt good. I wasn't even sore afterwards because I'd been training and building up for it. And then the full, everybody was like, "Oh, you're going to hit a wall at mile 20. Oh, you're going to hit a wall at mile 20." I'm like, "No, I won't. Like I've been training for 69, and if I hit a wall at mile 20, I'm screwed." And that's what I was thinking in my head. What did I do? I hit a wall at mile 20. I mean, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I figured out what happened though. I was cruising at like a 10:30 pace for 20 miles, which is really fast for me. I'm like a 12-minute mile, 11-minute mile pace guy. And when I hit that wall, I didn't realize I had my nutrition somewhat down. I would take a gel every 30 minutes. So I was consuming about 48 grams of carbs um, per hour. And I was just drinking water as I went. Well, when I hit mile 20, I noticed I quit sweating. My legs started cramping. And like I took pickle shots and the Gatorade and all of the stuff that they had on the course. But I have a history of heat exhaustion before. And so I have to stay on top of my electrolytes. I never knew how important they were until this moment. And I was wrecked. I probably the last mile of my marathon, I walked. It was brutal. Like every step, it was muscles were cramping, my quads, my hammies. Like I was just like not in a good place. But I took that experience and I learned that, hey, for me specifically, I need around 1,000 milligrams of sodium per hour to stay even. Uh, and so I learned that. And then when I went to my ultra, I was consuming 75 grams of carbs and 1,000 milligrams of sodium per hour on the hour, like clockwork. And I didn't hit a wall at mile 20. I hit a wall at mile 30 and a half. So it was like the last half mile really, really got me. But I ran the 31 miles in 12 minutes and 59 seconds. That was my pace. And man, it was really cool to see the progression of not only my fitness increasing, but my nutrition and everything around running besides running. The recovery, the stretching, the core work, rolling your feet out, all of that. And specifically the hydration and nutrition, because I wasn't hardly able to take myself over the 26.2, but I crushed it when I did the ultra and I ran the 31 just because of the experience and I learned it and I kept going. So I had a 19-week prep for the 69 miles and it humbled me because I'd never locked in for something that intense ever. Probably in high school when you're doing two a days and you're, doing all that stuff, but you're not locked in on your nutrition, right? Like I'm having to eat specific protein amount, specific carbs, specific fat. Um, I had to increase my calories because I was burning, 5,000 calories a day. And if I was in a deficit, then I could feel it the next day. In all of this stuff, I'm thinking about me, right? I've got two kids. I run a business. I'm married. Guess what happens when I go down on my hydration and nutrition? I'm grumpy. I'm short tempered. I'm all of these things. And so now my training is taking away from my time with my family where I could be pouring into them. And now I'm snapping at them. I'm yelling at them. I'm short tempered. And it all ties together. And I know everybody in my family is really getting tired of me talking about running. And so when I get to talk with guys like you, I'm like, bro, we could just sit here and nerd out about this stuff because it all ties into life. It's not just lacing up the shoes and running. It's the preparation to make sure, hey, I have everything prepped so I can wake up at 4, so I can go run 10 miles before work, so I can do this, so I can do that. And then at the end of the day, when I'm home with my wife and my kids, I can be a present dad and lead them effectively and lead them right and not be a zombie.
Yeah.
Because that it happened. And my wife was like, dude, what is going on with you? And I'm like, I don't know. And then so like I went back and like looked at my fitness pal and then looked at my calories I was burning. And I'm like, bro, I'm at like a 2,000 calorie deficit. No wonder I have a headache. No wonder I'm so grumpy, just tying it all together. And the biggest thing I've learned over this entire, probably like past 2 years is it's not about the destination. And when I say destination, I'm not talking about heaven, right? I'm talking about the destination for me and my family here on earth of, okay, I've got a goal. Let's go achieve this goal. I've got a goal in fitness. Let's go achieve this. I got a goal in business. Let's go achieve this. I got a family goal. Let's go achieve that. The goals are great. It gives you direction. It gives you a roadmap. But everything in between, that 19-week prep, I was able to become a better dad. I put more stress. I manufactured pressure on my life that I was now able to do the right things, right? And I was able to change who I am. Like I changed how I looked at time. I changed what preparation looked like. I changed all of these things so that I could achieve my goal, but also be the present dad. And it's the journey is so powerful, especially like in the thick of it, like right now. I know you and I talked about it a little bit. My daughter was in the hospital, had to do some life-saving procedures. My wife's going through some health stuff right now that there's a lot of uncertainty about. But all of that manufactured stress and that time that I spent getting closer to God, I was then able in these hard times to stop, look at the situation and say, thank you, Lord. Thank you for everything that you've given me. Thank you for this beautiful day outside. Thank you for the rain. Thank you for my home. Thank you for my support system. And with a clear mind, make the right decisions. Because when my daughter went to the hospital, we had 2 ambulance rides. We had to make quick life-changing decisions for her. But since I've manufactured the stress over the past 19 weeks, I was able to think clearly. It's like, okay, just like an ultra, what are you doing every second of that race? Oh, I'm getting blisters. It's mile 5. I've got 60 something more miles to go. What are we going to do? Oh, I'm cramping. Okay, do we need to increase the sodium? I'm having GI distress. Okay, what if we back off the carbs, back off the sodium, increase the water, maybe drink a Coke, maybe it's always pivot, attack, pivot, attack, pivot, attack. And it's the same in life. When we were in the ambulance, my daughter's blood pressure was dropping, blood sugar was at 35. We're getting on the highway, going to Fort Worth. What traffic? The entire interstate was shut down. Okay, we pivot, we go to this one. We have resources here. Even though it's not a good hospital, we have the resources we need to make sure she can stay alive. And if we need to, there's a helipad there and we can fly to Cooks. So all this manufactured stress really changed my life in more ways than I know. So yeah, man, it's been a crazy journey. And like I said, I'm addicted to ultras now, and because it's changing my life in running, but also changing my life in every other aspect.
Yeah, I love that you brought that topic, manufactured stress. I was actually talking with, I'm not going to call his name in case he watches the podcast, but a guy I work with, he came to me. So my spring has had a half marathon in end of April that I ran with my brother. He ran that. This was his first ever. race he did last year. He wanted to do it again this year, so we signed up. And um, really, all of my races this spring they're all like accumulative. So
Hmm.
I'm like, yeah, I'll do a half marathon with you. That'll get me starting running now to make sure that I'm running early spring. I live in Michigan. It's cold. You need a lot of motivation to get out and go run in Michigan. So this gave me the motivation to get moving. So I had the half marathon end of April. I had a 50K the same weekend you had your ultra. So
Yep.
that was I've done a 55-mile race before, but it was a way different format. So I don't quite consider that my first ultra. So the 50K was my first technical ultra. Um, and I came back to work. I was at work. That race was on Sunday. I went to work on Monday, and I was walking pretty gingerly. And the guy was like, "So are you done?" And I'm like, What do you mean?" He's like, "Are you done racing for the year?" I'm like, "No, I'm just getting started. I have a half marathon this weekend." So I had a half marathon the weekend after my 50K to
Yeah.
I've got to keep my legs moving. And then I have a 50 miler next weekend. So over a month, 6 weeks, I've had four races, and it's been a lot of
That's
accumulative
amazing. Yeah.
compounding miles. And so he's like, are you done? And I said, no, I'm just getting started. And he goes, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do all this suffering. And I'm like, man, you just teed that up for me. So he's like, you don't have
Yep.
to do all this suffering. I'm like, he goes, you have a kid on the way. We're expecting our third in October. I was like, yeah, I know. It's not till October though. And he's like, but you're doing all this stuff. I was like, let me tell you something. When you can manufacture stress in your own life and you can see how you handle stress on the daily basis, because the races are not they are the end point of a training program, but they're not the destination. The destination happens in late January and early February when it's freezing outside and I've got to go run. Like
Hmm.
when you put yourself through the manufactured stress, like you said, to reach these goals, it makes all of the stress that life brings to you that is organic and it's real stress. Like running, yeah, it's manufactured stress, but we're doing this to ourselves. Like we
Yeah.
could quit whenever we want. We don't have to do this, but life is going to bring us stress and trials and problems that we have no control over. It's not going to say, "Hey, is now a good time for a 20-week training block?" No, it's going to say, "Hey, you got a marathon today. Buckle up, go start running." And we're going to the hospital. We got to pull this. Things are going to come up that we have no control over. And if we're waiting until then to get ready to handle stress, we're too late. And
Too late.
that stress is gonna handle us. And you've seen marriages fall apart. You've seen relationships, with kids. You've seen all these things just fall apart because they wait until the stress comes to start learning how to handle it. And they're not equipped for it. They're entering a race, they're entering an ultra marathon that they've never trained for. And how do you expect them to come out? Like, yeah, I tell people you could go out and run a half marathon today with no training. It's going to suck and you are going to be in a lot of pain, but you could go do it. So,
Hmm.
wouldn't you rather sign up and train for it and do it better without it hurting so bad? Because you're going to do it one way or another. If I told you, hey, next Saturday you're running a half marathon, like you've got time to train or you've got time to not train. But when that weekend comes, you're running it no matter what. And
Yep.
life, if there's one thing that we can really count on and can be certain is that life will continue to throw us trials and races. And it's up to
Yeah.
us. Are we going to train for them or not? And the way you train for them is by consistently doing hard things that cause you this manufactured stress to teach you how to communicate when you're tired, how to communicate when you're sore. And like you said, for most of us, especially as guys, uh the best remedy is a good meal. When we're cranky and we're having a bad attitude and we're acting ways we shouldn't, it's like most of the time this could be fixed with a good meal, a few more
Yeah.
calories, and we could probably do okay.
Yeah.
So what do you have next? So your 69 miler didn't go quite as planned. Um,
Well, so it did. It didn't
okay.
go quite as planned. Where I didn't cross the finish line, but it went as planned because I told my wife, yes, my A goal is to go to 69, but my like A number two goal is to give it everything I've got and to leave it all out in the course. And so if I'm chafing, if my feet are hurting, all those things, power through it. I had some lung issues and I was walking a 30-minute pace in the last like 4 miles. And it took me 2 hours to cover that distance. And that's like I mean, for anybody who's not a runner, that's a very long time. Um, and I was huffing and puffing. And so I was like, hey, I can't do this anymore. I've got two kids. I have a business. Like I have things that I need to do. And this is not the end. This is just the beginning. And so I gave it everything I had. So that was walking away from the race. Yes, did I feel defeated because I had the DNF? Yeah, of course, anybody's going to feel defeated. But I felt like I had gotten to that point where I wanted to get, where I went as deep as I could into the pain cave without like actually hurting my body. And I call that a win.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can go back next year. Like I'm doing sprint work now. I'm building my lung capacity. I know what I need to change. So I'm going back and I'm going to get it. I'm just going in with a different game plan. So, but next events. One other thing I wanted to point out that you said, I like how your coworker said that. There's been so many people that have come up to me or DM'd me or called me and said, man, 15 hours of running, I bet you'll never do that again. And I'm like, brother, I want to go longer. I want to go further. Like, you don't understand everything that this has brought me. And it's just been so, like, everybody's been saying, not everybody, there's just been a lot of people that say it. I'm like, dude, you just don't understand. You want to
Yeah.
go home and you want to be comfortable. I want to be uncomfortable. And yeah, it's kind of like romanticized sometimes, especially on social media. Like, hey, let's get into the pain cave. Hey, let's do this. Hey, like, but when you're in it, when the kids are staying up late and they can't go to sleep, and you're trying to prep for the next day, and you're trying to do this, it is not romantic in that moment of like
Mhm.
of the discipline, the commitment, the all of those things. When you're cranky and you're low on calories and you need all these things, it's not that romantic. And it's not romantic when you're 45 miles deep and you can't breathe. But that's what it's about. Like
Yeah.
that's what makes us stronger.
It's crazy.
So
I had a half marathon last weekend, and that was another one. I signed up. My wife was going to run that with me, and she's pregnant, so she can't run it. But we already had a group of us going up to do this. We had an Airbnb already, a bunch of friends running it, and I had zero expectations because I just came off. I did the 50K. I ran 3 miles on Thursday that week just to see if I could even run, and then I'm going to go run 13. And I ran with a group. There was three other people, my friend and his wife, and then my wife's best friend. So there's four of us. And I was, hey, what pace are you guys trying to run? And they were like, well, we're trying to keep maybe a 10 between 10 and 10:30. I'm like, that's about my all out effort right now. If everything's going well. So I was like, hey, I'll keep up with you as long as I can.
yeah,
When it's time I can't hang anymore, I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm not out here to try to run fast. I'm just out here to get 13 miles for a training run today, and we'll see how this works. And you know, all thanks to God, my legs were moving. So we ended up finishing with a 10-minute pace.
let's
And
go, dude. That's
Rob,
awesome.
Rob and I, we were running up front, and around mile 9, my quads were pretty locking up. Like they were getting pretty heavy, starting to feel it. And we saw my wife and my friend's husband. They were there cheering us. So we stopped and got to see them for a second. I just stretched out real quick and kept going, but that quad pain kept being there. And I looked at Rob and I was like, for whatever was in me, I was just like, let's go. I was like, the suffering is the point. Like, this is
Yeah.
supposed to hurt. It is, this is, and something just clicked in my head. And I've had this concept for a long time. And I follow all the people that, the Goggins type people. But for so many of my races, even in the 50K, it was like, I know this is supposed to suck, but I want to get to the next point where I can be comfortable. So my goal is to get to the next aid station, because the next aid station I'll be comfortable. I can change my socks.
Hmm.
I can get more fuel. And then from there it's okay, let's just get to the next aid station because I'll be comfortable there. I can change my shoes. And subliminally, I'm honestly doing these things knowing that it's going to be suffering, but looking for my comfort in the
Yeah.
suffering. So I'm like, this is going to make it comfortable. This is going to make it comfortable. And last Saturday, I was just thinking that as you said that, I was like, it clicked. Like, no, this is not supposed to be comfortable. This is supposed to be really hard. And when we try to make really difficult things comfortable, we're shortchanging those trials. Um,
Yep.
I went through a couple big trials in my life, you know, over 10 years ago now. But I remember talking to somebody as I was going through it, and he said, Tim, don't waste a trial. He said, you're going through
Mm.
this for one reason or another. Don't distract yourself and just try to get out of the trial as soon as you can. Just sit
Yeah.
in the trial, get close to God, and learn something about God that you didn't know before by going through this trial. Like, we it's big in the ultra community, that pain cave, and like you said, it's this buzzword, but that is the point, is to find your pain cave and carve more of it out, to stay there longer. Because what
Yeah.
it doesn't make us these hard people, and these people that just are void of any emotion or feeling. It actually makes us much more in touch with our emotions and feelings, but we're able to discern what is truth, what is not, what's worth overreacting, what's worth thinking through logically. And when those, like I said, when those things that come up through life that are organic problems, real life problems, we're able to sit back with a calm and, clear mind and handle them the right way. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man, ultra running is something I never thought I'd ever be into. Um,
Me neither.
I would have laughed at you probably 5 years ago. When I was thinking a half marathon will be about my limit, I'll tap out at that. And then you surround yourself with the right kind or wrong kind of people, who are whatever way you want to describe it, and you find yourself there. So you've signed up for it next year with your brother, correct?
Yep. So I'm hoping we can do it. As soon as I got the notification, hey, it's going to be on this day, I marked it on the calendar, and my mom called me. She's like, hey, your sister's graduation might be this weekend. We won't know. And I'm like, eh. But
Of
that
course.
it's on the calendar, and if I don't get to do it, I'm going to sign up for something else. I should know in the next few weeks if I'm going to be able to do it. But my next race is going to be a completely different style. I'm going to do a backyard ultra.
Okay.
Um, it's here in town. It's really laid back. They just got a whiteboard, and it's just a bunch of people that want to go suffer. And it's called Quanah Hills Massacre. It's really small. Uh, it's on one of the trails here. Quite a bit of elevation change. It's one of the trails I ran in preparation for Possum's Revenge. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's a tough. It's a 7 mile loop is the whole trail. Um, since it's backyard style, it's like the 4.2 or whatever. But over the 7 miles, it's like 990 feet of elevation gain.
Jeez.
Um, so it's going to
When is
be
that?
it's going to be in August in Texas. So
So
it starts at
nice, cool time for you.
yeah, it starts at 8. I think at like 8 p.m. I'm not sure exactly what day. Since it's so small, they like post like a month before, but they do it every year. So I think it's like mid-August, and typically August, you're sitting around like 105 degrees
Yeah.
outside. So on the hour, every hour, if I get two or three loops in, and I can't I can't hold it anymore. Like, that's I'm just out there to give it everything I've got. Because at my pace and that elevation, I'm gonna I'll be getting back to the finish line within like 5 to 10 minutes of
Yeah.
it starting again. And um, right now I'm working on speed. I'm doing sprints not only to help with my lung capacity, but my goal by the end of the year is to run a 8-minute mile easy pace, which sounds insane, but also running 69 miles also sounds insane. So it's
Yeah.
like if I set my goal at 8 minutes a mile and I get 9, cool. Like now we have the next goal. Now we have so I'm gonna do that, and then uh everything the next thing is really dependent on my wife's health status. Um because we're gonna do a high rocks together. She wants to do one in November.
Oh, okay.
And after doctor visits and everything like that, we'll be able to figure out if
Yeah.
we're going to be able to do it. If not, then I'm going to talk to her and see, because if she wants me to go out there and do it, and I'm going to go out there and do it for her. But she wanted to do high rocks for her 30th. So we'll see. We'll see what the Lord has in store for us. But I'm going to sprinkle in some halves and
Yeah.
marathons throughout. Probably not the summer. There's really not a whole lot of races down here during the summer because it gets so hot and
Yeah. It kills people.
yeah, literally. Um, so I'm gonna do some of that, and I'm gonna Mike, who was on your podcast previously. I'm gonna go be his pacer. He's doing a Grand Slam. He's gonna do. He's got 4 100-mile races, and then two of four 400-mile races in 4 months, and I was only able to pace him for two of them. So I'm still waiting to hear back. So I'll either pace him at Leadville or at Wasatch, up in Utah, and so that'll be the next thing that in the backyard I'm going to be prepping for. Still my workout plan has changed quite a bit. I'm implementing a lot more strength right now and speed. Uh, so, like tomorrow, I'll probably run 13 miles, or I'll have a big long run. I'm still hitting probably about 20 miles a week, 20, 25. Um, but my, I'm going to hit Possum's Revenge. I'm going to get the 69 miles. I'll probably throw like another 50 miler in there somewhere in the mix. But my next big goal that I'm wanting to achieve is an Ironman. I think that would be epic. Um, so I started swimming this week. Just like in swimming, in swimming and running, when I started running, I had no clue what I was doing. Still probably don't. I know a lot more than I did.
Yeah.
Um, but I started swimming this week at the public pool and humbled me really quick. You know, I'm at the peak of like um, my fitness level since high school. And so I'm like, okay, like I'm in really good shape. Like I'm gonna go crush some laps. And brother, I got in that water and I don't know the technique to breathe right or do any of these things. And uh it was great. I loved it. And so I'm gonna throw in one swim exercise a week. It's gonna be one good for my lungs, two good for an entire body workout, but three, it's gonna help me because that in 2 to 3 years I'm gonna do a half Ironman and then I'm gonna attack the full.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's always been kind of on my list too. Um, the open water swimming.
Terrifies me.
I've got to get my head right around that because I can go out in the lap pool and swim all day, but there's something about looking down and not seeing anything beneath you that is just terrifying. But well, that's awesome, man. I might have a race to throw out there to tempt you with, but we can talk about that
Dude,
all
come
there.
on.
But all right, man, I'm gonna wrap it up. We could sit here and talk all day, and I would obviously love to, but my son's gonna be waking up from a nap soon, and I'm gonna be getting called into action. So
Yeah,
he's
man,
got his
I
he's got his first haircut today, so big day for him.
awesome. Yeah,
He's been
man,
he's been called our second daughter long enough. We need to get a haircut. So.
I appreciate you having me on the pod, man. This has been awesome.
Yeah, man, I'm glad we finally got a chance to do it. And, I know we'll be in touch and we'll stay active, communicating there. So best of luck, man. We are definitely praying for your wife and give the doctors wisdom as they go through some testing there. And you're on our hearts.
I appreciate it, man.
All right. I'm going to um, wrap it up here, guys. Thanks for watching. If this podcast was impactful or spoke to you in any way, please share it with one other person. That's all that we would ask. I will put in the show notes how you can get in touch and follow Brock in his journey with running and life, and you can reach out to him there. So thanks again. Have a great day.